Hey, it's JFoss, and I'm back starting part 2 of 5 in the Overrated, Underrated series. Today will be blue, and like I said in the first video, just because I say they're overrated doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, and just because my opinion on some are that they're underrated doesn't necessarily mean they're the best hero ever. So keep that in mind. I'll try to clarify that more in these comparisons. And off we go with blue. So for the first one up in the overrated category for blue, I have Vodnik. Now why I think Vodnik is slightly overrated is you look at the fast, you're like, that's great. But the 439 amongst all the blue 3 stars for the attack stat is extremely low. Only like variants of Gunner are lower. So you have a really low attack stat, which isn't necessarily appealing on a attacking hero. As far as the special, he does 280, which isn't a good baseline. Now this can obviously increase, but that's a low starting number below almost all the other blue 3-star snipers. Now I will say that I just assume everyone knows Greymane isn't good. Greymane's another blue 3-star hero. He's the wolf character. So that's why Greymane is not in this spot. So he's definitely better than Greymane, but in terms of the special, this special is better on defense than an offense, because a lot of times on offense you'll get a combo and he'll charge and the enemy will fire, so he will hit the lower end more often on offense. If you put this in the middle of his range, it's still below like Velen or Valen if you have his costume, whether you're running his costume or not. So, and I think his effects are better. So I think you're kind of looking at a defensive hero for 3-star tournaments that has a difficult place to fit in. Like I said, this special is going to be better on defense than it is offense. But if you're running it on a rush defense, there's a lot better blue options for rush defense. I mean, pretty much all the average and slow ones, essentially. And if you are trying to run them on offense and rush, the problem I just described, where you set off a combo and then the enemy fires, basically you're going to more often than not get a lower value from him than Velen or Valen. And if you're looking at something like Bloody, then yeah, he's fast, so that helps. But same thing, I'd rather have one of the faster heroes like Gato or Valen on offense and Bloody, and probably defense too. Now he does have decent survivability, and I will say picking the 3-star blue I thought was overrated was incredibly difficult, because I thought they were pretty much all properly rated in terms of what the consensus is. Like I said, everyone knows Greymane's bad, and you know who you're kind of running in the events and rush and all that, but so this hero isn't terrible. I would say if you like using this hero, or you need this hero because you don't have a lot of options for like 3-star Bloody Battle or something, you know, you put the emblems on him, but don't limit break him, because his value is not there long term. I don't really think it's even there now to an extent, but I could see some situations where you would actually want to use him, but it's a little deceptive because he's going to underdamage some of his better peers, and the attack stat's so low, just no utility in events. In 3-star tournaments, you kind of need that tile damage. But as I alluded to, he's better than Greymane, so there's something there. Next up for overrated ice heroes, I have Meyer Weave. I've read a lot. I do rank events, or at least some of them, and have several top 10 and top 100 finishes. And one of the more common things I see about this hero is that he's good at events. I can tell you he's not. In the modern era of events, you're 1 or 2 moving every stage. So I don't really see this guy at all as an event hero. His attack stats fine, his HP's not very, or his defense isn't very good. His HP or health is sufficient. The health isn't really going to swing it either way with a hero like this. Basically, if you think of where you would use this hero, like Bloody Battle, like very fast would be good in Bloody Battle typically. I just don't think he has enough time to build up and to increase his stacks to get to substantial damage. And I always like to look at competition in terms of other heroes that do similar things. For blue 4 stars, there aren't a lot of heroes that hit 2 or 3. You basically have Grim with costume bonus, Grim in costume, Meyer Weave, Sapphire, and Zilla Lee. Zilla Lee does a little bit less damage, but does minus defense, which is a very powerful skill. Sapphire hits twice as hard than the starting value of Mireweave, and Grim and his costume both do pretty valuable effects. So for those reasons, I have Mireweave in the overrated category. Next up for overrated, I have Exera. She does no direct damage, can't do damage to ice enemies. The damage can ramp up depending on how many blues are on the board. I don't think this type of skill is as bad on offense as people think it is. The common argument is that, oh, you're going to use all the tiles to get them charged, but generally speaking, in terms of these heroes, their damage that's sort of factored in. Like, if you look at a lot of these heroes, like Alexandrine or Ratatask or whatever, if you only or Octros, if you only have a few on the board, it's still better than their peers that do a similar effect. So I'm not against that effect even on offense. It probably is better typically on defense. But this hero is probably the worst of all the Season 4 heroes. Now remember, Sam and Loki was Season 3, a late Season 3. So I want to clarify that. But this just isn't a very good hero. Now, does every hero have a place and you could make this hero workable? Yeah, of course you could, but I think this is one of the weaker 4-star or weaker 5 stars, modern 5 stars in the entire game. I have this hero and I'm never going to touch it unless it gets upgraded at some point. This just isn't enough, especially at average speed, especially not doing any damage to ice enemies. Even if this skill did 1,000 water damage per turn with the immunity to ice enemies, you just wouldn't bring blue against her. I mean, it really is that simple. So like I said, I think this hero is really bad, and I think most people know she's really bad, but because she's new, I don't think everyone yet knows that she's really bad. So for that reason, I have her on the overrated category. Next up on the overrated chart, I got Rozala. Now Rozala is very fast, which helps. Of all the blue 5 stars, I consider snipers her base damage, so the 280% with a 793 attack is the lowest, unless you count Lord Loki hitting someone who doesn't have a special skill. So it's very low damage, like if Loki hits a map enemy. So it's very low damage, which is okay for very fast. For upfront damage, you'd expect very fast to be lower. The mechanic of this special is cool, and this is a hero I really played a lot with in testing because I thought it was a cool effect. But it basically comes down to this. On defense, if she activates and she goes into hiding, you know what she's going to do. So if you're going to fire a bunch of specials, you can just kill her. Because she's not immune, she just takes a small damage reduction. That's it. So if you're running mono and you charge, you can just kill her. Because if someone theoretically did cast 5 specials and she got to fire, it is massive damage. It is really good damage. In fact, it's good damage if it gets 2 or 3. Especially at very fast. The problem is on offense, or if you see her on defense, you know that. And if you're firing multiple specials, you'll kill her. If she's on the enemy's defense and you're on offense, I should say. And if it's the opposite, then you don't really have as much control of when the defense is firing. I mean, you're almost setting it up. It's sort of like the original arguments against counterattack. And I acknowledge counterattack has come around and is a somewhat valuable skill now, but if to get really good damage, the enemy has to fire 2 or 3 times in a 2-turn period, you have to have really specific setups. I'm thinking particularly taunt to make this effective. And you can with something like taunt. But I think this is seen as a hero that is a pretty good hero. And I think it's way more of a niche hero. Like I put this way more in the Frost category than I would even the like regular Elassie or Magni costume category. Like this is a niche hero to me that you need very, very specific setups to shine. And to me that very specific setup is mostly taunt and using her on offense. Because on defense, like I said, if you know she's going to do a bunch of damage, you just kill her. And on offense, if you don't have something to taunt and bait all the specials while she's hiding, then they might kill her, or you may even have to ask yourself, what am I doing when my enemy is firing a bunch of specials anyway? I should be, ahead and killing them. So for all those reasons, I have Rozala in the overrated category. Last up for overrated, I have Rhyn. I'm probably saying that wrong, but he's the Blue Slayer. Starting speed is slow, and I do realize these Slayers speed up as the fight goes on. It's worth noting that the Slayer's speed will eventually be likely buffed by a small amount. It's being played with in beta. And based on current patterns, the next time the Slayer portal is available, I would imagine a lot of the Slayers will be buffed. But as of right now, April 5th, 2022, I still have this hero definitely in the overrated category. And the main reason is the baseline of 180 is not very good damage. So you need to build it up with all these different effects, right? So yeah, you can remove status effects and get it really, really high. Okay, that's great in theory. Snow White has a similar effect that just is generally better. Especially the Snow White costume, whose upper end cap is literally twice the damage. So basically when I see this hero, I see a worse version of Snow White, and Snow White already is not a very popular character. And I see slow speed, low base damage that's tied to a condition, especially in a very, very competitive and crowded blue 5-star hit all category where all versions of Isarnia, Master Lepus costume, Millennia, like basically almost all of them. I mean, even Scotty's in that category. You just have very low damage for a very competitive field and a direct substitute in Snow White costume who's better, way better, at least as of today. And I would argue even the regular version of Snow White is better. So Right now, I think he definitely falls in the overrated category, and I would not be shocked at all to see him get a little boost the next time the Slayer portal comes around. First up for underrated ice, I have Gato. Gato is from Season 2. His attack stat is decent, and while he's not a top choice for events, you could use him there if you're missing some of the key event heroes. There are several 3-star blue snipers, like all the versions of Greymane, Jarver, all the versions of Velen and Vodnik, and amongst all those, his raw damage ranks 2nd, and he's fast. So, fast is always good and bloody. His special is good and bloody. He actually provides buffs for buff booster 3-star tournaments. There aren't a lot of heroes, especially at the 3-star level, that provide buffs. So he's helpful there. So you have decent utility in events, pretty good utility in buff, booster, and bloody battle, decent attack stat, decent offense, okay in defense for bloody and buff. And in an era where, for Rush, where there's so few counters for retrieval right now in Rush, being able to block status ailments for 3 turns is pretty big. And blue also has a blue 3-star cleanser in Hilo. So you have a nice little blue combination that can block or cleanse the devastating effects of retrieval. So for all those reasons, just general all around, I still think a relevant, decent 3-star. I probably wouldn't limit break because his long-term value is not protected. Like, he doesn't provide minus defense or some other skill that's timeless. But I definitely think a good 3-star to have, and belonging in the underrated category. Up next, I got Triton. Triton's a 4-star from Season 2 Atlantis. His attack stat is... This is obviously influenced by emblems, but his attack stat is very high for a 4-star. It's a baseline value of 720. So for the blue 4-stars, that puts him behind Grim with a costume bonus, which is regular Grim. You have the costume, but you don't have it on. And it's tied with, and it's below Sapphire and tied with Jot. So very good attack stats, higher than, it's pretty high for a 4-star even still. And he also provides buffs to the whole team at fast speed for buff booster, which is incredibly rare at the 3 and 4-star level to provide buffs to the whole team at fast speed for buff booster. His survivability is obviously pretty low. I mean, that's how he's balanced, but I can definitely take a chance with him at wing in the buff booster 4-star level because of that fast speed and buffs to all. Also potentially if you're kind of starting out or you don't have a lot of the key heroes for Titans, I mean, that's a pretty decent attack stat for a 4-star. Going into the actual damage, and this is why I think the trade-off for Bloody Battle is worth it. You go into the actual damage for all 4-star snipers for guaranteed upfront damage, so not tied to a condition, not factoring in damage over time, etc. He's 2nd behind only Griffin. So you have a high attack stat, a high damage special. He provides buffs, fast speed. That's why I have this hero in the underrated category. Next up on underrated ice heroes, I have Captain of Diamonds. Captain of Diamonds is one of the few minion controlling heroes in the game. He's fast speed. He's of a class that is not very competitive. In other words, there aren't a lot of elite heroes that are currently paladins. I understand how a lot of times people are like, oh, just use your Scotty, use your Grimble. I imagine the majority of the player base doesn't have Scotty and Grimble. So you have a decent mana control hero at fast speed. Minions are not going away. People saying minions are fad, minions are, minion meta this, meta that. Minions are a permanent thing. I mean, they're gonna keep releasing minion heroes, and if you've looked at the War of Three Kingdoms and some of the other upcoming heroes, minion heroes, I assure you are here to stay. So you have a hero here that handles it pretty well, and I think people realize that, but I haven't seen gameplay of this hero or anybody talk about this hero or anybody even mention this hero in at least a year and a half. And there's still minions. There's going to be minions, and if you don't have Grimble or Scotty, you're going to need something to handle those minions, and this is a cheap budget option that you can pair with Costume Kirill. Notice he destroys all the minions first and then hits. So yeah, I mean, you have potentially someone summons a minion, you put Costume Kirill's minus defense on the team, or another minus defense or attack up or whatever. He destroys all the minions and will hit everybody at fast speed. So definitely a niche hero, but a niche that I think people just, for whatever reason, just continually ignore and think it's going to go away. It's not. Minions are never going to go away. They're a thing. That's like saying status ailments are going to go away. Minions are here. They're here to stay. If you don't have Grimble or Scotty, then I would consider leveling Captain of Diamonds, trying him out, or Gobbler, the green 4-star, because you really, at this point, however many years we are into the game, need something for a minion counter, and he definitely has some synergy options with a Costume Kirill. So Captain of Diamonds, underrated. Getting into the 5 stars now for blue, I have Lord Loki. I think this is a really fun hero. It's a great hero to have, but the reason I have him on the underrated list is, look, we know heroes are coming fast. We know heroes are getting buffed before their portals come so that the company can make more money. We know heroes are getting exponentially stronger extremely fast, and they're getting ridiculous, honestly, with the power creep of the new heroes, right? Lord Loki is the most value protected hero that's ever existed. And the reason why I say value protected is, even if one day, 3 years from now, they release a hero that can instantly kill every single person at fast speed instantly, Lord Loki's still going to have incredible value at that point, because his value is not tied to himself, it's tied to the other heroes that exist and what heroes are commonly used. And you basically have a hero that is, for lack of a better word, inflation proof, or very unlikely to become irrelevant, because no matter what ridiculous, crazy, overpowered heroes come out in the future, he's always going to be able to copy them. So I think that while this is sort of seen as a fun hero, yeah, bring him against Alfric tanks, and if they have slow heroes, bring him there. But, I mean, he's so value protected that I think he's a great choice to use emblems or golden emblems or limit breakers on, because no matter what happens, you're always going to be able to use Lord Loki. And even if you're at a level where, like in the wars that I fight, it is extremely rare to even see a single slow hero or season 1 hero on the entire board for our opponent. And that's okay. Even if it's mostly fast and average speed heroes, you still have the flexibility to copy what's most advantageous for you. So even if it's all fast heroes and he's at average, you still have the choice to say, hey, can copy either one of these 3, which one best suits me. So he has a huge amount of flexibility, and he's always, no matter whatever happens in the game, is going to have value. And as fast as the heroes are coming out and as crazy as their specials are, being able to max a hero that you'll safely be able to say, I'll never regret maxing, I think that's a pretty good reason to be in the underrated category. And last up for underrated, I have Galeyard. I'm sure I'm saying that one incorrect, but he is from the Black Friday summons back in November of 2021. He hasn't been featured again since, as of early April 2022. So one of the more rare heroes in terms of he hasn't been available many times and he was tough to get in the first place. He has a very good base attack stat, which I'm always drawn to, especially for offensive heroes. In terms of snipers for guaranteed upfront damage, again, by guaranteed, I mean it's not tied to the enemy's health. It's not tied to a damage over time, etc. I have him as the 5th hardest hitting, just below Cathal. And Cathal is the blue sniper from Slayer's event, and he's Cathal's slow. So you basically have a fast hero that is doing extremely big damage. I understand it's a snipe. I understand that Fiends currently, although anywhere SG has the opportunity to make money, they will. Fiends currently aren't overrunning the game. There are some good Fiend heroes like Hannah and Elizabeth, and that's a nice niche counter, and I think that's how this guy is perceived, as sort of a niche hero. But when you do 490 damage to the target with an 836 base attack stat, that's not niche. That's legit. I'm going to one-shot your hero damage. And what's not pictured here is his passive ability or his innate ability, which drops the next damage to 1. Undispellable. So the next time he's hit, I think that's incredibly underrated. And if you have fought this guy's yellow counterpart on defense, I think it's penalty, then that can really mess you up if you are facing them on the defensive side, throw tiles into them, whatever, then that next hit on them is going to be 1. I'm not saying that's like the strongest thing ever, but I think when you have that little built-in protection, an incredibly strong snipe at fast speed, a very good attack stat, and then just the complete neutralization of an entire conceptual part of the game. So basically, I can hit you hard at fast speed and not worry about Fiends at all. I think that's a good combination of damage and niche utility. So if you don't have a lot of heroes, you're going to have great base damage, and you kind of use this hero a lot of places. And even if you have a lot of heroes, you're going to have good base damage and be able to counter this niche of Fiends pretty effectively. So for all those reasons, I have this guy last for blue underrated. As always, I appreciate the view. Thank you for watching, and I'll try to have green up in the next 6 to 10 days. Thanks again.